What's not quite right with Creed 2? The night before the fight, the video shows Creed's age as 28. Adonis was born sometime within a year of Apollo's death in 1985, which would make him around 31 or 32 years old by 2018. What else is not quite right? Apollo's championship belt shows the flag of South Africa as it is today. In 1985, it looked like this. I know, I'll say it for you. Come on, dude, that's nitpicky as fuck. If it makes you feel any better, I admit I do feel some shame on that one. Let's just move on.
Because of you, I lose everything. Country. Respect. Wife.
Creative conflict. I get that at this point, Rocky is a tired old man, and he's always been something of a soft-spoken, easygoing type of person, even when he was a strong-armed thug for a bookie in the first movie. But here, he's confronted by the guy who killed his best friend, then has the audacity to come into his town, his restaurant, and bitch to him about how much he lost after their fight.
All he knows is this. My son will break your boy.
You're complaining to me about what you lost? Because of you, my boy had to grow up without a father, his wife without a husband, and I lost my best friend. You need to get the hell out of my restaurant. This conversation is over, is what Rocky should have said. During Adonis's first fight against Victor Drago, one of the sportscasters calls Victor by his father's name, Ivan Drago.
Now, as we go to round 3, Adonis Creed has been beaten up and bloodied by an avalanche of power shots from Ivan Drago in the first 2 rounds.
This is regarded as an NQR, though I don't think it is. I think the writers did that on purpose. Adonis at this point is still hung up on his father's death and took this fight to right that wrong. So the announcer saying Ivan is the writer making a direct callback to Rocky IV.
And another shot by Drago.
Trivia. None of the main Russian characters are actually Russian. Dolph Lundgren is Swedish, Brigitte Nielsen is Danish, and Victor Drago is played by Florian Munteanu, who is Romanian. So this would be like white on white washing?
I know why you didn't train me before. I wasn't ready. You was right.
Yeah, but this is different.
Observation. Little Duke is horrible as a trainer. Up to this point, in 2 movies, we haven't seen him win anything. His fighter, Danny Wheeler, had to drop out of the championship fight against Ricky Conlon when Conlon broke Wheeler's jaw during a press conference. Then he lost the belt to Creed. Then Adonis, under Duke's training, got his ass whooped by Drago. Add all that up, and it says this dude sucks at his job. And the last and biggest not quite right?
Buddy said the fight has to be in Russia. Take it or leave it.
How the hell is the challenger, who was disqualified in the last fight, dictating the location of the rematch? I mean, I know they wanted the rematch to take place in Russia as a parallel to Rocky IV, but that was just eye-rollingly lame and forced.
We got this. You heard me?
As I did with Creed, this is more of a discussion of what Creed 2 as a story could have been had some adjustments been made with more focus on Adonis and the Creed family in general. Before we go any further, I want to add an addendum to the first video I posted and say that Ryan Coogler wrote the spec script of Creed the way he did as a tribute to his father. And because the series of films were a bonding element for Coogler and his father, who really liked Rocky, He wrote the story to purposely feature that character heavily. Now, that doesn't discount my contention that race plays a factor in getting the story made. I feel Coogler's writing of the script just happened to dovetail into the studio's calculations for making the film anyway. I would go so far as to say that if Coogler hadn't written the story that way, they would have suggested it. It's easy to imagine a studio exec saying, how about we expand Rocky's part? How about we make Rocky train the kid? We see this repeatedly in other reboots, remakes, and continuations, and it's well documented that Hollywood has a history of using race demographics as a factor in how they market a film. So I want to make it clear that I don't think the Creed movies as done by Coogler and Stephen Caple Jr. are bad. I just disagree with the direction and focus of the stories. So as before in my version of the Creed stories, Rocky isn't here, and Apollo's presence is much more prominent. And to be honest, it never really settled with me how in Rocky IV Apollo's death was treated essentially as a casualty of the Cold War. I mean, they telegraphed what the story was about in the opening scene. This display pretty much tells you everything you need to know about that story. But what it really does is marginalize a character that was pretty integral to Rocky's personal development. Apollo was the reason we know who Rocky is in the first place. Then his demanding a rematch gave Rocky his career, and his personal coaching gave Rocky his redemption against Clubber Lang.
Maybe we could win it back together. Eye of the tiger, man.
Why'd you have to come here?
I have the plan. Get back, man.
So to see his death, his murder really, used as a catalyst for some kind of geopolitical power play in which Balboa and Drago are the personification of two superpowers clashing, does an injustice to Apollo Creed and really devalues his importance to the Rocky universe. As I said in the last video, Rocky IV is a Rocky movie, and as such, Stallone is free to treat the characters any way he sees fit. Though recently he did express regret for killing off Apollo, as he stated in this since-deleted Instagram post. I have to admit, I regret having Apollo passing away so soon. He was irreplaceable. But enough setup. Let's get to my version of how Creed 2 should have gone. We open on a flashback.
Today may have proved to be a landmark in sports history. After unraveling years of red tape, Russia will now throw its hat into the ring. The prize ring, that is. The introductions were made by his wife, Lamila Vovik-Drago. She was the double gold medalist in swimming.
Today, the Soviet Union has officially entered professional boxing. My husband and great undefeated heavyweight world amateur champion, Captain Ivan Drago, has come here with his trainers to America to compete as an international sportsman and ambassador of goodwill.
Has Drago ever boxed against a real professional?
From having been trained in Russia by great boxing coach Manuel Vega, and now by Sergei Rinsky, we hope he's qualified to do so.
Hope?
Well, I know he is, but I don't want to sound too confident.
There is no one who can match his strength, his endurance, or his aggressiveness.
You make it sound like he's indestructible.
Yes, he is.
Well, can this mammoth Russian, who's already been nicknamed the Siberian Express, wreak havoc among the professional heavyweight ranks? Whoever he fights first, it'll be one hot ticket. We'll be right back with a check on today's Pro Football Sports Group.
The Soviet strength is incredible.
I gotta stop. This fight's finished. I gotta call it. Look, Chin, you can't do no more out there. I'm here to fight. He's killing you. I gotta stop this thing. I'm here to fight, promise me. You're not gonna stop this fight.
Boy, I'll tell you something. That was a pulverizing round for the ex-champion.
Hey, folks, Ivan Drago is definitely for real.
I'm gonna stop this fight. No matter what. No matter what.
Dancing around. The legs appear to be still a little rubbery. Hands up. Hands up. And now it is the Russian just standing there. The Russian trying to intimidate Creed. Close the right hand. Creed on the right to the jaw. Another right to the head. He's being followed with outbursts.
Stop the fight!
The referee tries to step in and he's thrown across the ring. Down! Throw it down! Whoa! never seen Apollo take so much punishment. Put it down!
There is no movement like Creed. And you feel the real champion.
What started out as a joke has turned out to be a descent.
Creed appears to be in very serious condition.
If he dies, he dies.
Then we go to the present with Adonis defending his title. The opponent can still be Danny Stuntman Wheeler, this time as the #1 challenger since Adonis unexpectedly won the belt from Ricky Conlan. Adonis can defend his belt and win his car back as personal payback. The fighter gets a last-minute pep talk from Mo Weston, who says to Adonis, "The media said you were a fluke, that you got lucky. They keep showing that video of you getting knocked down at the gym. Well, Danny's not dealing with that man tonight. Now go out there and handle your business and get your car back." We head to the ring. Much like the movie, Adonis handles himself and his business very well and retains the title. This time fully basking in the glory of being the champ.
And I can hardly wait to see what's next for Adonis Creed.
We cut to the other side of the world on a cold winter morning, and we see a familiar figure re-emerge. We follow the training of the young man through the perspective of a fight promoter tracking his development, ending with his savage victory over an overwhelmed opponent. Drago is coming. Back in America, we find Adonis with Mo getting ready to propose to Bianca. Remember, in my version, there is no Rocky and everything is already set on the West Coast. And later we see the two going to dinner. In the middle of their conversation, we hear,
Hey, woman! Hey, woman!
Bianca turns to see Clubber Lang, and they hug. Adonis is surprised to see the retired fighter, and through small talk, Bianca says Clubber is a childhood friend of her father's from back when they ran the streets together in Chicago. Lang tells Adonis that he's training a young fighter who may give him a run for his money in the next couple of years, and Adonis says he looks forward to it. After Clubber leaves, Adonis goes back to enjoying his dinner with his fiancée, and into the meal, the subject of celebrity versus legacy comes up.
D, it's okay to say you want to be famous.
It's not about fame. I mean, that's something else. It's about being remembered. And we all know how people look at my pops.
So, you don't think you got your validation? Donnie, everyone has their own path. It'll come, babe. You gotta trust the journey. Besides, you already got a sandwich named after your ass.
Yeah, I guess it's a start.
Then Adonis gets the news of Victor Drago's challenge.
This is Creed versus Drago. This is the fight the whole world wants to see. And this is the fight he should take. Unless he's afraid of history repeating itself.
And Bianca tries to calm him down.
D, baby. It's a publicity stunt. Don't worry about that.
In the next scene, we see Adonis, his fiancée, Marianne, and an older gentleman at the dinner table in her house. Through the dialogue, it's apparent that Marianne is seeing this guy, and Adonis jokingly teases him about dating his mother. Marianne tells Adonis and Bianca that she's planning a family picnic for the summertime, and his brother Atlas and sister Athena will be able to come into town for it. Bianca says she's going to be happy to see them again, and Adonis says that's great, but it's clear he's preoccupied. His mother picks up on it and reveals that she knows Bianca is pregnant even before the couple knew. After dinner, Adonis is talking to his mother alone, and he teases her about her date, asking if this guy is his new pops. Marianne shoots back that he can never have another father, but that doesn't mean she can't have another daddy. That bombshell TMI causes Adonis to quickly shift gears and talk about his engagement. Taking a breath, Adonis gets to the real subject he wants to talk to his mother about.
Ma, that fight between me and Ivan Drago's son. I'm going to take it.
And much like the movie, Marianne is not happy with this decision.
You telling me you don't miss him?
Excuse me. Do not try to make this about me, and don't pretend that it's about your father. You became the world champion without him.
Then why don't I feel like it?
If your father was here, he would tell you he didn't feel like it either. But he's not. I just hope you'll be here for your child.
Sometime after that, Adonis meets with Mo and Little Duke, and the three talk about the challenge. Duke is a bit apprehensive considering what he knows about Victor.
Drago's kid. Big. Fast. Strong. Unorthodox. It's a monster, boy. That's a balanced breakfast over there. Think you ready for all that?
I gotta be.
Mo has his reservations too, and thinks Creed should take a few more tune-up fights before tackling such a task. Adonis is determined.
At least do it for them. Think about it. Beat what they couldn't beat. Change the way they were remembered. This is our chance to rewrite history. Our history.
Meanwhile, we find Victor Drago is quickly moving up the ranks over the course of time, and the confrontation is going to be inevitable. In the next scene, we see Bianca and Marianne's home, and the two are having brunch and discussing the coming fight. Bianca talks about her misgivings, but doesn't want to be the one standing in Adonis's way, and Marianne says she's seen Victor Drago, and he's huge, like his father was. She begins to tell Bianca what it takes and what it means to be the wife of a professional boxer. That it means even though every fiber of your being is screaming something else, you still support your husband, no matter what. And when that what happens, you deal with it. Then she goes silent for a second, and unprompted, starts to recount what she had to do to deal with Apollo's death, how she had to make funeral arrangements and take over his estate and businesses. This story is told in a half-flashback, half-cautionary tale manner, and it's the most vulnerable and raw we and Adonis's fiancé has ever seen his mother. It doesn't bring Bianca comfort, and it wasn't meant to. This is the world they chose to live in. In the next scenes are the run-up to the fight and the weigh-in, where Ivan taunts Adonis.
You're much smaller than you thought.
Hey, we can do this right here, bro. You can't help me anymore. You hear me? You can't hide behind that ring. You stay there. All you doing is talking, homie.
Which brings us to the big match. As the fight begins, Adonis is moving and jabbing well, but Victor is waiting, stalking. After taking a few shots, the big Russian throws his first real punch.
skillet knocked him back into the ropes. We good.
Creed doesn't like that, Jim.
And things go south for Adonis from there. In this version, Adonis gets legitimately brutally knocked out.
Keeps coming. Oh, and a big rib shot.
And with that, Victor Drago, son of Ivan Drago, the man who killed Apollo Creed, becomes the heavyweight champion. In the hospital, Bianca, Little Duke, and Moses try to console Adonis, who is despondent because no one believed he could win. Not really.
Look at me. Man, what are you still doing here? You here to pick up the pieces?
No.
We still have those scenes with Victor and his father being re-embraced by the people who abandoned them after Ivan lost to Rocky. And we see by the emotion from the young man and the terse conversation with his father that wearing the belt and these people's reappearance, including his mother, doesn't smooth the abandonment the Dragos experienced so many years ago.
Victor, все эти люди собрались здесь ради нас. Ради тебя.
Эти люди выгнали тебя из России. Что мы здесь делаем?
Стран будущее.
Я даже не знаю эту женщину. Она нам чужая.
Виктор.
Она бросила тебя. Они все отвернулись от тебя. Стыдили тебя.
Я проиграл. Я проиграл. Но ты не проиграешь.
He hasn't really been himself. And I get it. Because he's going through a lot.
Then there's the scene where Bianca talks to Marianne about how things are between her and Adonis since the loss.
With everything he's going through.
With everything he's going through? You've been in his corner every step of the way. He's a grown man. He's got to heal from the inside out. Trust me, I know. I've been there.
In the next scene, we see Adonis back at his mother's mansion. Looking for her, he walks into his father's office. Looking into the room, Adonis sees someone who looks like Apollo, only older. He's not Apollo, but his twin brother Ares Creed. Okay, quick pause. Yes, I brought Carl Weathers back. Let him get some of this franchise money. And since apparently Apollo's kids with Marianne have been retconned out with no problem, people shouldn't have an issue with Apollo having a twin brother we're only meeting now. Now back to the story. Adonis says, "Mom told me about you." And he points to the picture on the wall of two twin little boys posing in boxing gear. His uncle continues with history and says, Apollo and Ares both boxed Golden Gloves, but where his brother went professional after winning Golden Gloves, Ares went into the Navy, where he won the Brigade Boxing Championship and was a career officer. Ares says he retired last year and just recently moved back into town. He's been following the young man's emergence and rise and contacted Marianne for a visit. He tells Adonis that his mother's with his fiancée shopping, but they will be back shortly. The two then talk about how Adonis feels about where he is in his life since losing the belt to Drago. Ares says, "Your mother told me that you were headstrong, like your father, and that you could do anything, but you chose to do this. You became the champ. Now I imagine losing the belt feels even worse because of the history, but Adonis, if you want to continue to have a career in this sport, you're going to have to go back to the beginning and ask some real hard questions about why you did this in the first place." Adonis talks about the fear he had of taking up Apollo's mantle and how he's lost the fire for fighting.
I used to feel like he was a part of me. Now I can't hear him, or that thing that tells me to get in the ring. Move my feet, keep my hands up, hit anything that gets in my way. can't hear it anymore. I don't even know how I lost.
Ares says, I saw the fight, and your natural style just won't work against an opponent that big. He says, I fought guys that big in the Brigade Championship. I had a way to negate their height and strength.
You're saying yours was better?
Good enough to get in the Brigade Boxing Hall of Fame. The two embrace.
Good seeing you.
And he says, we can get deeper into that later. Right now, I'd like to get to know my nephew. At that point, Adonis gets a phone call from his mother. Bianca is in labor.
Hey, Ma.
Yeah.
Wait, right now?
The rest of these scenes play pretty much the same as Adonis and Bianca learn that their child is born deaf and works through his anger and frustration within himself, at which point he comes to a breakthrough. And the fire within him is reignited.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, there you go. I know. Daddy's being a bitch. I know.
The next day, Adonis has a meeting with Moses, Duke, and Ares to discuss the rematch. Ares says, earlier you said you lost the belt to Drago, but I realized you weren't talking about Victor. You were talking about Ivan. You lost because you didn't fight Victor, you were fighting his father. Ivan isn't in the ring, and Victor is as hungry as you were. Adonis says, yeah, that's what I've been thinking about, but that's changed, and I want what's mine. Ares says, well, you gotta think about this real hard, because you have people who need you now. Adonis says,
that's exactly why I can't lose.
Buddy said the fight has to be in Russia. Take it or leave it.
On their turf.
Moses says, you're going to have to go to Russia to get it back.
It's a clear advantage if it comes down to a judge's decision.
Ares looks at Adonis and says, well, we can't let it come to a judge's decision, right?
So Russia it is.
Little Duke leaves to call the promoter.
So we train here tomorrow, 5 a.m.
Mo says, me and your uncle were talking earlier, and we thought, if you want to change things in a big way, then we need to make big changes. In the car, we see Adonis, Ares, and Mo. Ares says, I talked to your father not long after he lost the belt to Rocky Balboa. I told him it was because he lost his edge. He lost the eye of the wolf. Moses interrupts. Wait, you mean tiger? Ares says, what? No, it's wolf. The eye of the wolf. Apollo used to say eye of the tiger. Ares says with a smile, that was my saying, and Apollo was a thief. In any case, Adonis, you have to get back the eye of the wolf. Adonis looks at them both. Wolf? Tiger? Why not a bear? What the hell are you guys talking about? And we've been driving for a while. Where the hell are we going? The three arrive at the makeshift camp. In voiceover, Moses says that we're going to attack this fight on 2 levels. First, we're going to build up your body to take the punishment Victor is going to dish. Second, we got to get your head right and refocus on your belt and why you're here. As Adonis trains, we hear Moses giving him pointers on how to deal with Victor based on the last match. As he runs in the desert, we hear Ares' voice saying, to win this next fight, you have to understand one thing. Victor Drago didn't kill your father. He had nothing to do with what happened 30 years ago. He's just a man, just an opponent. Another level you have to climb as you build your legacy. Your legacy, not your father's. I know how much it hurts, but once you lay that pain to rest, you will be free to be the man you were meant to be. Not just Apollo Creed's son. Adonis Creed, champion in his own right. We can build your body up, and we can give you strategy, but only you can take the next step. Aries says under his breath, "Come on, son. Get up." From this point, we watch the fighter get stronger and faster until we see a born-again, refocused Adonis Creed. At the rematch, Adonis and his cornermen climb into the ring, and for a brief moment, the two combatants and their number ones are face to face. Ivan looks at Aries, the spitting image yet older version of the man he killed 3 decades ago, and Apollo's brother looks back at him like, "Yeah, motherfucker, it's on."
Ready? And we're underway.
Round 1. We see Adonis set the tone and pace with a quick combination. Unlike the first match, he doesn't allow Victor to keep him in the corner for long and quickly scores on his opponent. Drago's fast, but not as fast as Creed.
Creed manages to slip away. Let's get it.
The round ends with Adonis the winner. Both fighters get their respective instructions from the cornermen, and it's round 2. Victor makes his adjustments and tags Adonis with a solid shot. The momentum starts to shift, and Victor lands more punches, causing Adonis to clinch.
Huge uppercut. Has Creed holding on now. Drago throws him off into the corner.
Drago manhandles his opponent, throwing him to the canvas.
Throws Creed to the canvas. Shades of the first fight, but Drago showing restraint this time. You good? And Creed is back on his feet.
Then presses his attack and knocks Adonis down.
Creed is down, a flurry of heavy shots. Drago's power is just incredible.
Adonis looks to Moses, who tells him to take the 8 count, and the boxer gathers himself.
Before. And Creed is back on his feet. Beats the count. Ready? Let's go. Drago is right back at it.
That round over. It's clear it's going to be a long night for both fighters. The next rounds, we see Adonis and Victor in intense exchanges, but no matter how much pressure the Russian applies, Creed stands his ground and quickly retaliates. Between rounds, Ivan instructs his son to break the American with the same punch that put Adonis in the hospital the last time. And the big Russian does so, slamming punches into his rib cage.
And Drago drops Creed. Victor holding and maybe getting away with something there. The ref must not have seen it.
In the corner, Adonis is almost doubled over in pain, and Moses asks, "Do you want to call it?" They both know the answer. Moses says, "Punching while holding. The fucker is scared he's gonna lose, that's why they're doing that shit. Okay, this is what you do. As much as you want to, do not go at him toe-to-toe. Stick to your angles and pick your shots. He's strong, but he's not as fast as you are. Remember, make him miss, make him pay." The bell rings, and Adonis follows through with his cornerman's advice. The fighter is sticking and moving well when Drago catches Creed in the ribs again, sending him to the canvas hard.
And down goes Creed again, and this could be the end of the fight.
Ribs badly bruised, doubt creeping in, the boxer, at a loss for an answer, hears one voice that cuts through the noise.
name? Creed. What's your name? Creed!
With nothing left to lose, Creed tears into his opponent with abandon. For the first time, we see Victor Drago fall. His confidence shaken, the Russian gets to his feet, and Creed unfurls a volley of devastating blows that topples his opponent again. Seeing the inevitable defeat coming, Drago's estranged mother abandons her son for the second time. Victor stands, doing the only thing he's been taught, the only thing he knows. Adonis moves in, firing off blows on instinct alone. Even though Creed can feel Drago getting weaker with every punch, the punishment can't stop until the bell rings, the referee stops it, or someone falls dead. This is the world they chose to live in. Suddenly, we see something land in the ring. Ivan Drago has thrown in the towel, conceding the fight and saving his son. The rest plays out similar to the film, except it's Ares who stays outside of the ring, watching his nephew have his moment and anchor his legacy. Ares walks up to the side of the ring and raises his fist. Then says, "Apollo would be proud of you, son. But this is your time." Leaving the dressing room, Adonis sees a broken Victor, still dressed in his trunks.
Yo, Duke. I'll catch up with you in a second. All right, I'll be out here.
This was a deleted scene in the movie, but I see it as symbolic of Adonis making a final break from his past. He no longer sees Victor Drago attached to the event that killed his father. The Russian is just a man, an opponent trying to achieve the same things he is. At this point, it's clear that Apollo and Ivan have nothing to do with them.
I know how it feels. It may not seem like it now, but you gotta know you're more than just one fight. We both are.
This brings us to the epilogue in Adonis's closure.
What's up, Pops? Look, I'm sorry it took me so long to come see you. I'm not sure how this is supposed to go. I guess I should tell you that Mom's doing pretty good. You know, she's holding up.
Adonis also says, I finally met Uncle Aries. He agreed to help Duke and Mo manage the gym. And he told me a lot about you guys growing up. Eye of the Tiger, indeed. I feel like I know you so much more now.
Look, I just came here to tell you that I did it. But I didn't do it for you. But because of them, I did it because it was my fight. And when I stepped into that ring, it wasn't just about me. Sometimes we think we have to do it all on our own. But we don't. I want to introduce you to somebody. This is your granddaughter, Amara. See what's up with Papa. If we don't do what we love, then we wouldn't exist.
It's time, kid. This version of Creed 2 completes Adonis' journey through his feelings and issues with his father. From my version of the first movie to this one, we see the fighter battle through his own demons and establish himself as his own man. Because Rocky isn't here, Apollo Creed has his proper place as the true focal point of the saga and as the person who has affected all of these people's lives, and we see how they all have to move on and grow from here. In my version, you see Apollo's widow dating and having a life. She's not just an old lady apparently living alone in a mansion. And the addition of Ares, along with mentioning his half-siblings by name, means that Adonis has a fuller family on his father's side. And none of that negates all the issues of feelings of inadequacy or resentment or the fears Adonis was feeling over the first two stories. Those are issues in his head that he has to resolve. But I have to admit, I threw in the Clubber Lang cameo as a bit of fan service for all the fans speculating about the possibility of Clubber being brought in possibly as a heavy in Creed 3. But I personally wouldn't make that move since, 1, Clubber wasn't an adversary for Apollo, he was Rocky's nemesis, and 2, Rocky defeated him, and bringing him back would be yet another grudge-holding, vanquished villain seeking some sort of revenge, and we already saw that with Ivan Drago. But the whole point of this scenario was to illustrate that the Creed story could have stood on its own from the beginning and didn't need to be a soft reboot of the Rocky Balboa stories. I enjoyed making the video, and I hope you enjoyed it as well.
It may not seem like it now, but this is more than just a fight.
Loyalty. I got loyalty inside my DNA.
If you agree with this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if I missed an observation, let me know in the comments below. And if you would like to support the channel and videos, feel free to donate through PayPal or pick up some NQR gear by clicking the links in the description below. And thanks for watching.